Hi, and welcome to our Sports Card Grinders show, a show where we're here to help you out with sports card investing and trying to guide you to smart decision making when it comes to buying cards. Before we introduce everyone, please give our video a thumbs up below. And if you've been enjoying our show, subscribe to the YouTube page and make sure to check us out on the RotoGrinders sports card section where we put up several articles and videos throughout the week. I'm Simon Edwards. I'm a RotoGrinders executive producer and content contributor. And I'm joined by another RotoGrinders content contributor, Brennan Ruby. How's it going, Brennan?
It's going good. I'm starting to see more and more buzz around, league commissioners and teams meeting and talking about alternative strategies. So I'm hoping that means we're moving in the right direction here for sports, because I think the market's been hot as it is in sports cards. But once sports comes back, I think the floodgates will open, and it'll be a good moment in time here after kind of getting beat down here for the last few months.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like NFL announced, I think today, that they're asking teams to have their reopening procedures ready by May 15th. So that's definitely a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're also joined by another RG contributor, Josh Wysocki. How's it going, Josh?
Good. Just to touch on what you guys were saying, it's good to see the league start to, ramp back up. I saw a report that the Lakers are, going to open their facility within the next 10 days or so. So it's just going to be nice to have sports again, and I think that just means more growth for sports card industry.
Yeah, for sure. Like hopefully it'll take off once sports come back, and all of our investments that we've made over the past few months will come to fruition. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're doing a box break contest next week. We're going to be actually opening up 9 packs of our 2019 Panini NBA Prizm set here. We're going to be giving 9 of those packs away to people who've subscribed to our partner sportscardinvestor.com using the promo code grinders, or through our affiliate links that you can find on our articles. We're going to choose 9 of those people randomly who've subscribed to the Market Movers plan. And we're going to be doing a live pack openings next week, and we'll be in contact with those 9 people to send them the cards that they win. So if you subscribed through RotoGrinders or using the promo code grinders, you will automatically be qualified for that. And if you haven't yet, you'll want to do that before Wednesday night, because there's still time to qualify. And we'll also be picking one person from our sports card Discord, for the RotoGrinders Discord, to also win a pack of cards. We'll be opening for them. We'll ask some sort of a trivia question or something when we're live next week. It'll be a live show, so you'll get to see the packs opened in real time. We'll have more details on Discord and via RotoGrinders, so we'll make sure to tweet that out. So keep an eye on our Twitter account for more details on that. Let's see. So we're going to start off today by talking about Select, which is a Panini brand. We feel that it goes a little bit overlooked. It's more of a hobby brand as opposed to a retail brand, but it's a really nice looking card. And I'm going to call up a page here where we can show you a little bit about the product details of the Panini Select brand. Brennan brought this brand to my attention, at least, as a potential alternative to Prizm cards. If you're looking for alternative card to buy that could have increased popularity over the next couple years or so. Brennan, would you want to tell us a little bit about what you like about the Select brand, and why you think that it has so much potential?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the Select brand within Panini's basketball line. I think it is important to know that it's a potential set to compete with Prizm, and Optic probably has taken over a second right now. But the reason why I like it so much is, one, it has a long history. It's been released since 2012. And so it's not a set that I feel has been introduced to the market just because the market's hot and there's high demand. Back in 2012, we didn't see anywhere near the demand as we do right now. And that was its first year. So it's been every year since then, like clockwork. So that's one reason why I like it. Another reason why I like it is because it's hobby only. And now I think that's a double-edged sword, because you can't go into Target or Walmart and buy the cards, so less people are introduced to them right away. However, it does help with the print count and the population of those cards, because you can't buy them at every Walmart, at every Target. They're harder to come by, the price point's higher, and that kind of means that you are going to see less of them circulated over time. Even as the market continues to grow, it will be one of the more limited mainstream products that you will see. A third reason why I like it is because of the card look itself. I think the card looks really slick. And one thing I like to do when I invest in cards is invest in cards that I think look really nice. And so not that Prizm and Optic don't, they look good as well, but all three of them have a chromium type feel. And I think it's a really slick, high-end looking card. And then lastly, it does have parallels like Prizm and Optic. However, it's got its own nuance where the base set actually has 3 versions of each rookie. And so what that means is the concourse version of the card is the most easily available and readily available. Then it goes to the premier level, which is more rare than concourse. And then courtside is the most rare version of a player's card that you can find in Select. And so even within the base set, forgetting about parallels for a minute, you can add rarity just by targeting those courtside cards. And they usually have the best looking design as well. And so I think it is a little bit overlooked because Prizm and Optic get talked about a lot. We talk about it on the show, and for good reason. That's where the market's at right now. But I really do think with Select's history and just some other things it has going for it, it's definitely a good investment. Might carry a little bit extra risk because you're relying on the market headed there. But as more and more people flood into the market, I think they're going to be looking for alternatives. And I think Select's in a really good position to take advantage of that.
Yeah, Josh, what are your thoughts on this brand?
Yeah, definitely agree with Brennan on that. It's, making its way, up in popularity. It's number 3 in terms of popularity, right behind Prizm and Optic. I do like Brendan said again, the 3 variations of the base. So there's a lot of different levels to enter this set, different price points per card for collectors. So that's nice. They feel like a Prizm card. Like if you've held a Prizm card in your hand, they're thicker. They've got that nice finish. These Select cards feel like that as well. So it doesn't feel like a cheap, just cardboard or paper card like some of the other brands, like a lower end, like Hoops or something like that. These are a really nice card, and they look really nice.
Yeah, and they have a good variety of inserts in this set, including these RPA cards. Really nice looking. You get the rookie autograph and let's see, and jersey patch. Let me just find one of these, which is always nice. And I think I noticed when I wrote an article for cards that I was targeting this week, one of the guys that I pointed out was Zion Williamson, and obviously his Prizm card right now is going for $3,000 for a PSA silver 10. So it's very very expensive if you want to get that card. But if you look on Select, you can find, I think it was an RPA, like a rookie patch autograph card for under $1,000. It's raw, but it's still really nice card with a low population for under 1,000 for one of the hottest players on the market. And I think compared to some of the other prices you pay for him with the more in-demand cards, I think that's like a pretty good buy right there. What do you think of something like that, Brennan?
Yeah, no, absolutely. With a brand like Select, it's going to give you an opportunity, like Josh said, to buy in several different ways. You can go his base courtside to get something slightly rare, but also at a reasonable price, or you could get something as rare as the zebra print, which is, if you're familiar with Revolution, it's kind of like their Galactic. It's a rare parallel. It's not numbered, but they're very hard to find. And then you've got things like the RPA, which is all RPAs for Zion are out of this world. But for a trusted brand like Select to get an RPA at a reasonable price, I mean, that's really a great opportunity if that's in your budget. Obviously, even $1,000 for many people might be unreachable, but if you've got a low population card like that with an auto and a jersey of a player that you really trust in, taking a shot on that is, in my opinion, just as good as taking a shot on something like a Prizm at 3 times the price. Just in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's a great way to go. And it might take longer for that to come to fruition because of the liquidity of Prizm and because everybody's looking for them. But, over the long run, a card like that might appreciate in a pretty good way, especially as everyone that wants a Prizm gets one, or as the Prizm gets so high, it pushes people to alternatives in that at a different price range.
Yeah, I'm got on my screen right now a look at that Zion RPA card. It's really, really just a nice looking card. It's very colorful. Lots of lots of that Prizm look going on it, and it's just a slick card overall. The only thing I don't like about it is that the autograph isn't an on-card autograph. It's it's one of those stick-ons. But other than that, the card looks fantastic.
I think the serial number run on those RPAs is pretty low too.
Yeah.
So even more rare.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like this rookie jersey autographs are out of 199. So yeah, so there's 40 different autographed cards, and there's 199 of each one of those. The parallel cards, they also have those where you can find lower populations. It looks like purple is out of 99 for those. Tie-dye is out of 25. Gold is out of 10. And neon orange pulsar, first off the line, is out of 8. And then they got the black one, which is 1 out of 1. So a lot of good collectability in this set. Very nice looking set, and definitely worth paying attention to. Brennan, have you noticed anything about the grading of these cards that might affect it popularity wise?
I haven't noticed as far as so one thing I like to look at is what percentage of cards get a 10 over a 9. And I think this one is a fairly easy grade, which is common with the modern cards. But the thing is, I think the last time I looked at the actual PSA population for Select was 1/3 or 1/4 of Optic and Prizm. And so the population on those is a lot lower. Which is typically good at it from an investment standpoint. Obviously, the market needs to demand the card as well. There's many sets that have very few cards graded because they're not in demand. But for a set like Select, if you get a PSA 9 or PSA 10, you're looking at a lot lower population than you would at a Prizm or Optic brand. As far as how easily they grade, one thing you want to look at is the corners. And the easiest way to, or the corners is popular, is something you should look at for every set. But the centering on these as well, I find that a lot of them are off center. And an easy way to tell that for it's hard to do it on the court side, but for the concourse and the premier, you want to find an edge where there's, a little bit of a line, and you just want to see, I usually take my cursor and see how much of my mouse goes in between the edge of the card and the gold trim. And then I go to the other side and see if it's about the same. It's not a foolproof way, but if it's way off, you'll be able to tell that way. So just pay attention to the gold trim on the base cards and how much room is in between the edge of the card on both sides. And you can kind of get an idea of how centered they are. I've noticed quite a few of them off center, probably taking them down to a PSA 9 because of that.
Yeah. They also, the borders, not having the borders, that makes it a little bit tougher to center. I noticed they have a what they call the die cut card, and that looks like the borders are just like completely cut differently than a normal card. You want to go into that at all? Like, it looks like it's not the typical rectangle shape. It's cut like the shape of the design of the card. It's very interesting look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The die cut is, so it's typically carries more. Usually they're in parallels. So you won't find a die cut for a base card, but some of their parallels will have a die cut version. And that just means that you're right. It is a design. It's not a rectangle like you would normally see. There's usually curved edges. There's usually different designs. I think it's a personal preference thing. I, for one, am not a huge fan of the die cut look. However, if you were to go out and look at those cards, they carry a pretty heavy premium to other base cards and things like that. And so I think a lot of collectors and investors like the die cut look. I'm not one of them, but however, you have to be especially careful with the edges on those and the corners on those, because now instead of going from 4 with straight lines across, now you've got a lot of curves. You've got, maybe sometimes multiple corners. You've sometimes got 6 to 8 corners based on how it's cut. And so you have to be definitely careful when you're looking at die cuts. If you want to get them graded, that the edges and the corners are in good shape, because those do tend to get beat up a little bit more than your rectangle cards. But they do look pretty slick, and they're definitely in demand, especially since most of them are numbered to a limited print run.
Yeah, and I imagine something like that would be super tough to grade. Josh, have you seen those die cuts? Like, what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I agree with, the grading of die cuts. There's just more surface area, more edges to grade that could get dinged. And so it's going to be harder, especially if you're sending to somebody like BGS, where they actually have a grade for edges. It's going to be tougher to get a good grade on a card that has just more edging than a standard rectangular card.
Yeah, for sure. So another one of the brands that we wanted to discuss that's an alternative to Prizm are the Mosaic brands. Is the Mosaic brand, and wanted to talk about this one because it looks like they're going to be having a Dutch auction on Panini on their website next week on the 13th at 10 a.m., I believe. And this is a card set that's been flying off the shelves when it was introduced to Walmart. It hasn't been introduced nationwide yet, I don't believe, and it hasn't been introduced to all the stores, retail stores yet, just because their printing had to stop with Texas being quarantined, I believe, and that's where I believe they print it. So it looks like Panini is going to start selling them online, the first off the line boxes, next week. And like I said, it's going to be a Dutch auction. So those can be a little bit tricky when it comes to trying to figure out what you want to pay for a box like that. So if you guys are trying to figure out what you want to pay, first I'll explain what a Dutch auction is. They start the price at about $1,000. They start selling the boxes at about $1,000. And every 5 minutes, the price goes down a little bit until it either sells out or it hits a minimum of $250 a box. So a lot of times, somewhere in between that 1,000 and the 250, the boxes are going to sell out. So it's a matter of trying to decipher when it'll hit that price point where the demand is just too strong and the cards finally sell out. So if you guys are doing this, like, how do you figure out what price these first off the line boxes are worth, and how do you mentally go in? It's like a game of poker. You're playing against a bunch of other poker players, and you're trying to figure out what they're thinking as far as price. So what kind of strategy you guys would use for this?
So I personally, so this is something that's a little bit out of the realm of what I do. I typically don't even open boxes or packs a lot, but what I would recommend is looking at the premium that other boxes are selling for on eBay, which might give you an idea of how much people are willing to pay over market value. Now, every set is different, so it's not going to be a perfect perfect match, but you could go onto eBay and see what Prizm sells for as I would say probably a hobby box. Well, I take that back because Mosaic I think is a retail as well. So you could take a look at maybe Prizm or Optic or Revolution, check out what the retail price is, what markup they have on eBay, and that'll give you a good idea of when you probably should start looking. So if it's set to sell at 250 and Prizm and Optic are selling at 100% markup, that means you might want to start looking at 500. But considering the pent up demand and how many products are being pushed back, it's kind of hard to tell how crazy these will go for. But certainly don't purchase anything that you can't afford to begin with. So if your budget is 500, you just hope it gets to you. And if not, you can buy some cards and packs off of eBay or something once it comes out. But maybe do some market research on what the average markup is on eBay for other boxes like this, and it might give you a target to look at.
Yeah, Josh, what kind of strategy would you take on this?
Yeah, I would agree. Just comparing to first off the line Prizm when that came out, seeing what that finished off at when they did the Dutch auction for that, seeing what it's selling at now, trying to make your own judgment on what you think the price is going to end up at. But also, like Brennan said, there's such high demand right now, even compared to when Prizm came out, when there was high demand. The scarcity of the printing being stopped on the retail versions of Mosaic, so that's not in the stores as much as it should be. I kind of think this is going to sell out at a higher price because of all those factors.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you'll notice on eBay is the boxes are going for several times over what retail is right now on eBay, just because it wasn't distributed everywhere. So there's probably an inflated demand, probably more so than it should be. So I'd be careful on buying this one. Don't set your price too high on it. I kind of did a comparison looking at brands that are the Prizm brand Mega Box, which is going for as low as about $225 on eBay right now. And the 2019 first off the line hobby box for 2019 Prizm is going for about as low as $1,200. So that's about 5x. So if you apply 5x to the $55 retail of Mosaic, it comes out to be about $287 a box. So I think, like 300 might be a reasonable target for it. And if you think that everybody else is thinking 300, you might want to go 325 or something like that. To make sure that you get the boxes if you want them. But I don't think I'd pay more than that for a box of these cards.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I actually think there'll be a little bit of a premium to the 5x just because of the massive context around the situation that we're in right now. So if it's starting at 1,000 going down to 250. I'd be surprised if it makes it much past 450, 500. Yeah. But if you're looking at 350 or 400, and as it gets close, if you want to lock it in, you can lock it in at a little bit more. However, just know that in our partner at Sports Card Investor did a really good video about this, but whenever there's a new product, there's a spike at the very beginning and then it kind of levels out to a nice baseline. So, buying early can be tricky. However, the first off the line has a lot of good deals inside of it, things you won't find anywhere else. So if you're in the market for it, just go in with a strategy and execute that. And don't let the excitement and emotion get to you in the moment, because those Dutch auctions can be pretty thrilling. I've watched a few in a Discord chat before, and the people go crazy, and I understand why. It's pretty exhilarating to watch that clock go down and try to get your number.
Yeah, and if you do buy with the intent in selling, you probably want to sell it pretty quick while the demand is so high. Because if those boxes start coming, the printing starts spitting them out faster, and you're getting a flood onto the market, then the prices will probably not be where they're at right now. So it might be the best time to actually sell right now. Okay, so we're talking about Panini releases. Let's go to check out some of the upcoming releases for May. We were scrolling through before the show, and we noticed that on May 15th, they're supposed to be releasing the 2019 Panini Chronicles football. So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm calling up the page for the set right here. Brennan, what are your thoughts on this brand as an alternative brand to invest in?
Yeah, so for someone like me who doesn't invest a lot into football, this is actually looks like a pretty cool set because this year, this doesn't happen every year, but this year Chronicles is taking some of the other popular brands that have made appearances in the past year and adding them all into one set. So for instance, Crown Royale is something that is prevalent in basketball as well. That's in here. It looks like they've got the Classics. So Classics is a set that's been around for a little while. I'm a fan of Court Kings. It looks like they've got Gridiron Kings in here for the Chronicles. And then you've got things, some other sets that I'm not so familiar with, but they look like they have really cool designs, scores in here. So if you're someone who's not serious about football, or maybe you are and you like some of the mixed bag of brands you're getting, I actually think this is a pretty cool set to look at. Now, I can't imagine that high value rookie cards are going to come out of here. I imagine that we're going to have to wait for some of the other bigger sets that are going to come out with them in their pro jerseys. But if you like some of the veterans, or if you just are a fan of autos and cool designs, I think this set is actually going to be a pretty cool buy. I just don't think you're going to find the rookies that we're going to be targeting until we get to those prisms and other sets. But overall, this looks pretty cool. I'll probably try to grab a couple of boxes if they're good prices.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, to touch on the rookies, I think the rookies in this release will still be 2019. So I think you're still going to be searching for Kyler Murray rookies and things like that. If it's anything like Chronicles NBA was last year's Chronicles NBA had a lot of different rookie variation cards in it in the release. That was just retail. So I'm not sure if that'll carry over to football because this is a hobby, I believe. But just something to think about, to look into, to see if you are getting a bunch of rookie cards out of this set too.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at the Beckett page for the checklist or whatever this is, and it has a very nice looking autographed Kyler Murray card. It's very clean looking. It's not an on card autograph, but it's still very clean looking card. Pretty nice looking. Is this a retail set, or is this a hobby set?
I believe it's at least available in hobby. I don't know if it's retail, but it looks like here autographs are 2 per hobby box. So if you are going the hobby route, it looks like you're guaranteed on average, I guess, at least 2 autographs per hobby box. I don't know if it's available on retail or not. That's a good question.
Yeah, it looks like, at least from this page on Beckett, it says just hobby.
Okay. There's a nice looking Lamar Jackson Crown Royale RPA in here, or not RPA, but patch autograph in here that looks pretty nice too. So it looks like they have I guess they have a mix of veterans and rookies for some of these autographs. Yeah, that's a nice set. So another one that we were looking on this list was, let's see, the Panini Noir basketball. And Brennan, do you want to go over this one a little bit?
Yeah, so this is another one of those high-end brands that kind of take a back seat to things like National Treasures and Immaculate. However, the cards look really slick, and I don't think there's any problem in chasing some of these. The ones that I like the most, I don't own any of them yet, are the on-card autos with the gold ink. With the way that the card is set up, it's heavy on like black backgrounds with some gold in there and different coloring. And the gold ink just looks really slick on the cards. So I might try to grab some of those. They've also got this set in Noir where they feature the player's shoes more so than the actual player themselves. So that's another kind of wrinkle that you won't find anywhere else. So they're really nice looking cards. You'll definitely be able to find them at a discount than what you'll find at something like a National Treasures. However, it is kind of something like Impeccable, which I'm also a fan of. They're on the higher end. However, they haven't reached the same level as something like Immaculate and National Treasures. But otherwise, they're very, very slick cards and ones that I'll probably be picking up this year at some point.
Yeah, the looking at the gold autograph right now, and that looks really nice. And with all the pent up demand for NBA right now, I think that it's a good time to start looking at these alternative brands because everybody's going to be looking for something to buy, and you never know if one of these things will catch fire. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, Noir is one of the higher end brands for sure, but you can get it at a discount from the really high end stuff. And I do really like the sneaker showcase cards. I was a sneakerhead growing up, so those cards really intrigue me. They look nice. I've also seen cards. I don't know if it's the Noir brand, but I've instead of like a jersey or patch, they actually do pieces of the shoe. So I don't know if it's not shown in the set, but I have seen those cards before. So I don't know if that will be in this set or another brand like National Treasures.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, National Treasures, I think it was scheduled to be released actually next week, but it looks like that's been pushed back to some point in June. So we're going to have to wait for another show to talk about that one. Let's see. I'm looking at this list right now. I saw it earlier. Yeah, sometime towards mid to late June. It looks like that might get pushed back too. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to get those National Treasures. But that looks like a great set too. So we'll talk about that another week. So we wanted to also talk this week about SGC Grading and why it might be a good alternative to PSA or Beckett grading. It's a less popular grading system, but you guys have both used it recently. Why don't you tell us about your experience a little bit with it, Josh?
Yep, I have currently 2 orders in with them. My first order just hit the 10-day mark, so it should be shipping back to me any day now. I have 15 cards with them. It's, like I said, my first experience with them. I sent some cards that I think will 10, but I also sent some cards that I know have some issues, soft corners, scratching, things like that. And I just sent those in just to see what they would grade at, to try to get a feel for how they grade. And just in terms of SGC in the market, PSA and BGS have, the 2 of them have kind of cornered the market in terms of grading, but I think there's room for a third, just with the volume of people entering the market and wanting to grade. There's really going to have to be a third one, just because of the backlog at the other two places. I like the look of the SGC case too. I haven't been able to hold one in my hands yet, so like I have PSA or BGS, but they do something different. They have a black border around the card, which really, to me, makes the card pop more than the other 2, PSA and BGS, where it's just clear. So I'm really curious once I actually have it in my hand to just feel it and see how much more it makes the card pop.
Yeah. Brennan, what are some pros and cons that you've noticed about SGC?
Sure. The pros are, like Josh said, the turnaround times. There's such a backlog at PSA and BGS. SGC is in a position where they can actually turn things around at, or at least reasonably close to what you've ordered. I do know that I think I've seen a message from them on Twitter that they're running a little bit behind, but not nearly as much as PSA and BGS, which their turnaround times are, it's almost like a halfway point at this point, if not worse. And so that's one of the pros. If you want to get your card back and back on the market quickly, that's a pro. The other pro is they're a market disruptor. So we've had BGS and PSA, kind of pushing along for many years as at the top of the hill, and now they're going to get a little bit of pressure. And so we'll see if that, forces them to hire more people to lower their turnaround times, lower their prices. If not, SGC could absolutely come in and become someone who is a third player in that race. That being said, for them to reach that level, we have to see their cards valued in the same way as BGS and PSA. So they're still selling at a little bit of a discount. It's not as much as it used to be. So they're closing the gap. I think we're all interested to see, once PSA and BGS are back up and running at full strength, if people will choose to go back there or stick with SGC. I do agree that the case looks nice with the black border or the black fill inside the plastic. I think that their header is a little bit basic right now, but that's something one of the people that work there has said they're looking to change soon. So I don't think that'll be a problem forever. But the one thing that I think might save them or might put them in that race is they've got a PSA feel from a case perspective, but they have the 9.5, which is something PSA doesn't have. And so if you're someone who has a card that's on the fence between a 9 and a 10, from a PSA perspective, dropping from a 9 to a 9 from a 10 is a huge loss in value. Now, if it should have come through as a 9.5, that would kind of protect your investment a little bit more. So that 9.5 is a big deal. We see BGS 9.5s trading at premiums to 9s. And so it'll be interesting to see if that plays a factor in this as we move forward.
What's the cost difference between getting something graded by SGC and those other brands?
So SGC, I believe, is $10 a card plus shipping. And Josh can correct me if I'm wrong. And that's for the 20-day. So I don't know what the prices are as you move up. I know I have an order out the door for a 20-day, and I think I got 10 cards in there for, I think, $120. I think the shipping was $25, and I had a promo code to get it down to $8.50 a card. So you can get a pretty good amount for a decent price. PSA, that probably would have cost me, I don't know, probably close to $200, I bet.
Yeah, my first submission was April 21st. That was the 10-day, and that was 15 cards for, after everything, shipping and insurance, was $235 for the 15 cards. I think it ended up being like $16 or $17 a card. The one I did just on the May 3rd was 11 cards, and I did the 20-day for $10. And that was 11 cards for $119. Also, just to touch on like the backlog at PSA and BGS. So my order number on the 21st with SGC was 3,511. On the 3rd, it's 35,011. On the 3rd, it's 40,635. So in less than 2 weeks, they've had over 5,000 submissions. So they're pretty busy now too. So I'll be curious to see how close to their turnaround time they're gonna stick to. I can't imagine to be anything like PSA. I mean, PSA turnaround time stated 45 days is turning into 90, 120 days. So I don't anticipate that much of a backlog at SGC.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of cards to go through. So, yeah, hopefully these companies can get caught up pretty quickly and get people their cards back. Which cards are you waiting on right now, Josh, to get back to you?
What I said, my first order was some Jordan cards that I've had since I was a kid. I doubt any of them will even 9, maybe 9.5 if I'm lucky. But that was more of like the test case. I did a couple Prizm, Steph Curry's, LeBron James, Zion, that I ripped myself this year. And my other submission, the more recent one, some more Prizm. I do have one Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie It's off center, so it's not going to 10. I might get lucky and get an 8 on that, but that's a card I've had, since I was a kid, so that holds some sentimental value to me. So I just wanted it slabbed, and just some other random stuff. Giannis rookie. So we'll see. Hopefully, I get some good grades on them.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one, man. Like this one, one looks a little off-centered though, so I don't think I'd be sending this one in. But you can check out the borders on that one.
Yeah.
But so let's move on. I'm going to remind people again about the contest that we're running next week. Don't forget to subscribe to sportscardinvestor.com. Use the promo code Grinders to get 20% off your first purchase price. The one that you want to enter, subscribe to in order to qualify for the contest we're running next week is the Market Movers plan. That'll instantly qualify you to potentially win a pack of cards when we do our live pack breaks next week. There's going to be 9 given away to people who've subscribed through our links or through our promo code. And then there's going to be 1 that's given away in our RotoGrinders Sports Card Discord live during the show. So make sure to sign up for that and be ready to answer a trivia question next Wednesday. I believe 5:30 Eastern is what time we'll go live next week. So just be ready for that. So before we get out of here, let's go over what we're targeting, which players that we're targeting right now in the sports card market. Brennan, let's start with you. Who are you targeting?
Sure. So I'm targeting guys that I think might have what I call a moment in the playoffs this year. So when guys have moments, whether they're big games, championships, awards, or different other storylines that they have, you see their card prices go up. And so I'm trying to target guys that I think might have moments in the playoffs, but are still at reasonable prices. Jason Tatum is somebody whose price has already come up, but his teammate, Jaylen Brown, has stayed pretty flat. And the crazy thing about that is, and I know it seems like forever ago that we had the All-Star break, we weren't quite sure which one was going to make the All-Star team. They both played at very similar levels this year. However, Jason Tatum's a year younger. He carries a little bit more star power, and so he's kind of caught on. That being said, Jaylen Brown has already been locked in long-term with a max extension or close to a max extension with Boston. And so if we think Jason Tatum's going to have a great career, Boston will try to lock him in. Jaylen Brown will probably be his second-hand man for the near future. And I think he's a very good investment right now because as early as this year, he could have quite a few good games in the playoffs, and Boston could make a little bit of a run. And so Jaylen Brown is one guy I'm looking at. Michael Porter Jr. is another guy I'm looking at. He had a moment early this year, and then for some reason, Mike Malone, the coach, decided to play him less than he was in the middle of the season. He feels like a rookie because he didn't play last year, but this is his second year. Outside of the injury issues he had in college, he was considered the best player in his draft. And so I think if he has a breakout this playoffs or early next season, this is the time to get his cards because I don't think they're going to come back down. He is selling at quite a discount to Luka, which is to be expected, and he'll probably never reach that level, but also Trae Young, both guys who he was competing with in his draft class. So I think Michael Porter Jr. could see minutes this playoff and be good. Mm-hmm. A couple of veterans I'm targeting. Paul George on the Clippers. I think he's vastly undervalued in his entire career, and I think it might take 1 or 2 championships with Kawhi as his second guy to push his prices up. The problem with Paul George is his rookie market is undervalued, but I'm still curious if people are going to be trying to chase his Clipper cards, his Clipper rookie cards, which is in 2019. So I picked up a little bit of Paul George as a rookie, and also Paul George this year, the first cards in his Clipper uniform, which would be your Select, your Optic. Prizm actually has him in his Pacers uniform, I believe. So you can't get him this year in Prizm. So Select and Optic are the way to go there. And it's kind of the same with Chris Middleton as well. Chris Middleton played at an all-star level this year. He actually made the all-star team, and he will be the second guy in Milwaukee. So if you think Milwaukee will win a championship, Chris Middleton will probably see his cards come up because he'll play a big part in that. Again, he played less than 500 minutes his rookie year in Detroit. So you're fighting with, do I go with the rookie cards, which he does have a Prizm rookie, or do I go with his first Milwaukee card? So it's something to fight with. Again, I don't know which one will play out, so I've been getting a little bit of both. And the last guy I want to talk about is a little bit more of a wild card. It's Landry Shamet. Jeff from Sports Card Investor talked him up earlier this summer. I know he's a big fan of his. And for whatever reason, there's just so many storylines this year, and the Clippers kind of came out slower than people thought. He hasn't gotten the love that he did early in the preseason. I think if Landry Shamet comes out hot in the playoffs, you could see his cards come up. So he's another guy I'm targeting. But those are 5 guys I'm looking at right now to invest in, because I think as early as this playoffs, they could see their cards come up.
Cool. Josh, who are you targeting?
So I'm kind of going off what right now, if the playoffs started right now, what the matchups would be. So 2 guys I'm looking at are Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark, because they would be matched up against the Lakers. So lots of eyes on them for that matchup. They could both be, good buy low guys at this point to flip quick if they have a good game or two. Probably Brandon Clark more so than Jackson Jr., because from DFS we know that Jackson Jr. fouls a lot. So matchup with AD could, lead to Brandon Clark getting more minutes than Jaren Jackson Jr. Potential for, better stat lines, more playing time could, be a quick spike in his value to flip. A guy that I'm looking at to potentially buy after the playoffs would be Luka. Right now they'd be matched up with the Clippers. I don't see the Mavs beating the Clippers, so that could actually produce a little drop in Luka, which would be a great time to buy anytime Luka drops. He's the future of the NBA. Him and Giannis are probably, the next 10 years, they're going to be the guys. And I don't see his cards going down, plummeting, but it could be a nice buy low point. Other guys, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's still really young, really good. Most likely a 4 or 5 seed matchup. So chance to, make the second round. He doesn't have a lot of national exposure playing for the Thunder, but he, would get more exposure during the playoffs. He's, future All-Star that I think is a good long-term hold. And another guy that's just like a maybe to another Celtic is Gordon Hayward. So he's kind of the third option on the Celtics, and he's really had a pretty good year until the shutdown. Averages are pretty good points wise, rebounds, all that stuff. So I'd be curious to see if he has some good games to see what his cards do. There's not a ton on the market right now. I've been looking on eBay. There's really only a few of his rookie cards for sale right now. But if you see some out there, I might think about picking them up. But that was it.
Cool. And I'm going to be focusing more on NFL cards. I like the news that they're going to start initiating the beginning of something that resembles a season. So that's pretty exciting. I'm looking at the Kyler Murray red optic autos for under $500. Those are nice cards. Again, the autograph on the card, very nice looking. And also the Baker Mayfield Prizm Silver auto PSA 10. I'll probably be targeting that for under 400. That's also, just a nice looking card. I think Baker Mayfield's kind of got lost in the shuffle with all the focus on Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott. We actually had Dak. I would be targeting Dak Prescott next week, but he's gone up probably 100% over the last week. We actually had him featured too in our article, targets article last week, which you can find on RotoGrinders.com sports card section. It was I think a PSA 10 Prizm silver autograph, and it's doubled in price over the last week. So he's just on fire lately. But yeah, so Baker and Kyler are probably the guys that I'm going to be trying to target this coming week. So that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to sportscardinvestor.com using the promo code grinders to get 20% off your first payment on any subscription. And make sure it's the Market Movers subscription if you want to qualify for our contest next week, where we'll be opening 9 packs of these for winners who've signed up for the Sports Card Investor Market Mover subscription through our promo code or links on our site. So make sure to get in on that and give us a like and subscribe down below. Helps us out, helps us know that you guys like the content that we're putting out. And until next week, take care and good luck with your targets.